Fragment caching is a very close cousin to output caching. And this is one of the few places that I'll tell you you'll have to go back and watch the previous video on output caching if you didn't for this to make total sense, because I'm not going to recreate the example here. But with fragment caching, we can cache individual pieces of a page. Now, output caching dropped the entire page into the cache and then just handed it back out of cache until it expired. But what if we've got a piece of a page? Now, think about this. We've got a web page out here, and this bit of information down here in this corner does not change very often. Well, parts of it up here, let's say this part's quite dynamic and changes all the time. And so is the things in this area. Well, this is what I need to do output caching on. So what I need to do is take this out of the page, set it over here as a user control, set output caching on the page directive on that user control, and then put that user control in the page. And what will happen is when this page gets loaded, this will go up into cache, the user control, and every page or multiple pages that use this particular item will load everything else on the page in the normal way, but this particular item right here will load from output cache. From a fragment caching or from the cache. Now, this is huge. Just simply convert the portion of the page you want to a user control. You saw how to do that earlier. And then in that user control itself, you set the output cache page directive just like we did in the previous video on the output page, and you now have a fragment that's caching. Now, excellent candidates for fragment caching are headers and footers. Usually we want these things to stay the same on every page. And if we're writing them to every page, why not cache those things so they go on there a lot faster and a lot more efficiently? Drop-down list. If you have drop-down lists where the same drop-down list appears on multiple pages, cache that thing, because we're going to make a run out to the database, and then we can cache that data. And instead of making multiple runs back and forth to the web server, to the SQL server, we can just simply put that stuff in cache and get it that way. Fragment caching, very, very similar to output caching. It's just a user control that is basically output cached, dropped into another page, and it continues to cache to fill in that space on that page. So with caching here, object cache we talked about, output, page caching, and now fragment caching. These three things can drastically improve the performance of your web server. So get to know these things, play with them, and experiment and see what happens.